My name's Alina Hart, I'm 28, and I'm from Manchester. I'd spent the last year living out of a suitcase, chasing the sun and the snow as a DJ for this international resorts company. I'd spun tracks at beach clubs in Mexico, dropped beats in the Bahamas, and my last stop was this swanky ski resort high up in the mountains of Colorado. It was supposed to be my final gig before heading back home for a bit, a sort of snowy grand finale to a year of sunshine. Life was pretty good, you know. I loved the energy of a live crowd, the way the music could just lift everyone up, make them forget their worries for a few hours. I especially loved the buzz of working in different places, meeting people from all over. My job was more than just a job. It was connecting with people through sound, creating moments on a dance floor thousands of miles from my little flat back home. I valued professionalism, I valued respect, and I absolutely valued a good, well-managed show. The stakes for me were always about delivering that experience, making sure the music was right, the vibe was electric. It wasn't about the money so much as the feeling, the connection. The person who was supposed to manage the entertainment team at this ski resort never actually showed up. He was coming from Canada and apparently got tangled up with customs at the border, couldn't get through. So, the head honcho at the resort, the general manager I suppose, decided to put this young kid in charge temporarily. Let's call him Liam. Honestly, from day one, Liam was a nightmare. He couldn't have been much older than me, but he acted like he owned the place, constantly puffing out his chest and trying to look important. He had zero experience managing people, let alone managing the entertainment for a busy holiday resort. This was prime time, Christmas and New Year were just around the corner, and the nightclub was absolutely buzzing every single night. It was packed wall to wall with people, the energy was incredible. Because the DJ booth was elevated and right in the middle of the action, it became a bit of a focal point. Women, and guys too, honestly, would come up to the edge of the booth, leaning in, wanting to chat, flirt, make requests. It's just part of the job when you're in the middle of a party, you know. You interact, you take a few requests if they fit the vibe, you make people feel included. Liam, though, saw it differently. I think he was just incredibly jealous. He'd skulk around the edge of the booth, glaring, and then he'd pull me aside, his face all pinched. "Elena, keep the girls out," he'd mutter. "Focus on the music, that's what you're paid for." I tried to explain that interacting with the crowd was part of creating the atmosphere, that taking requests was standard, but he wouldn't listen. He just saw the attention I was getting and seemed to resent it. His insecurity was practically a physical thing, hanging in the air around him. It was frustrating, but I tried to just smile, nod, and carry on doing my job as best I could, maybe limiting the time I spent chatting, but not shutting myself off completely. Then came the night everything blew up. The club was the busiest it had been all season, absolutely rammed. The music was pumping, everyone was dancing, the atmosphere was electric. People were as usual coming up to the booth, asking for songs, wanting photos. Liam appeared again, looking furious. He barged into the little area behind the booth and, practically spitting the words, told me, "Right, that's it. I want you to lock the door to the back here. And don't let asterisk anyone in." Understood. He looked genuinely angry, so I just said, "Okay, fine. The door stays locked, nobody gets in, got it." He gave me a sharp nod and stomped off, probably to go power trip somewhere else. I locked the door, feeling a bit annoyed, but also thinking, okay, less distraction, maybe I can just focus on absolutely nailing this set. I threw myself back into the music, mixing, reading the crowd, feeling that familiar flow of being totally in the zone. The energy was amazing. I was about halfway through my set, the crowd was peaking, everyone was singing along, when there was a loud, insistent banging on the door behind the booth. My head snapped around. Who on earth was that? I couldn't think who would need to get in right now, asterisk. The banging got louder, more impatient. Then I heard a muffled voice shouting my name. It was Liam. He wanted to come in. I honestly couldn't believe it. Hadn't he just told me to lock the door and let no one in? Was he serious? All the frustration from the past week or so of dealing with his ridiculous behavior just bubbled up inside me. I ignored the banging for a minute, focusing on a transition between songs, letting the music carry me. The banging continued, more frantic now. He was shouting something about needing to get in, about checking on things. Checking on what? The women he wanted to scope out, I bet. My blood was starting to boil. I knew exactly what he was doing, trying to assert his authority, probably wanting to hang out in the booth where he thought the action was. I wasn't having it. Through the door, I shouted back, making sure my voice was loud enough to be heard over the music and the crowd noise, but not so loud that the whole club heard our private drama. I can't open the door. You told me to lock it and not let anyone in. Remember. There was a stunned silence from his side. Then the banging started again, even harder, and his voice was absolutely roaring now, completely losing it on the other side of the wood. He sounded utterly livid, probably because I'd called him out on his own stupid rule. I held my ground for another minute, the music still pumping, the crowd oblivious to the mini meltdown happening inches away from me. But the banging was getting ridiculous, shaking the door, and I knew he wasn't going to give up. It was causing a disturbance now, and I didn't want to ruin the night for the people on the dance floor. With a sigh of pure exasperation, I finally relented. I quickly unlatched the door and pulled it open. He practically fell into the room, his face bright red, eyes bulging with rage. He immediately started screaming at me, right there behind the booth, though thankfully the music was loud enough that the main crowd couldn't hear his exact words, just the raised voices if they were close. "What the hell is wrong with you, Alina? I told you to open the door," he shrieked. "No, you didn't, Liam." I shot back, my voice calm but firm, despite my heart hammering. "You told me to lock the door and not let anyone in. That's exactly what I was doing." I gestured towards the locked door, the irony not lost on me, though it seemed completely lost on him. He was beyond reason at this point, consumed by his own petty fury. "I am your manager. When I tell you to do something, you do it." He bellowed, oblivious to the fact that I had done what he told me, just not the latest contradictory thing he wanted. The place was absolutely packed, the energy was buzzing, and this little tyrant was having a meltdown because I'd followed his last instruction. He jabbed a finger towards me, his hand trembling with anger. "That's it, you're fired, get out of here." Fired for following his orders. I stared at him for a second, the music still pounding, my mind trying to process what he'd just said. Was he serious? Was he really ending my gig, my final resort experience, my chance to end on a high over this? "Are you serious?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, the anger suddenly replaced by a cold shock. He just glared, his eyes hard. "Get out, now." The finality in his voice was unmistakable. In that moment, standing there with the music blasting and the crowd roaring, something just shifted inside me. All the frustration, the disrespect, the sheer incompetence of this temporary manager crystallized. He wanted me out, fine, but he wasn't going to get away with firing me like this without a little punctuation mark. I took a deep breath, walked over to the mixer, and slowly, deliberately faded the music out. The sudden silence in the packed club was jarring, instant. Hundreds of heads turned, looking up at the booth, confused murmurs rippling through the crowd. I stepped to the front of the booth, leaned into the microphone that had just moments ago been amplifying the music, and my voice, calm and clear, cut through the quiet. "Excuse me, everyone," I said, addressing the bewildered faces below. "I'm really sorry to stop the party, but I've just been fired." I paused, letting that sink in for a second, glancing back at Liam, who looked absolutely aghast behind me. His face had gone from red to white in an instant. "Apparently," I continued, a small, almost imperceptible smirk playing on my lips, "I've been fired for doing exactly what I was told to do by the temporary manager. So I have to pack up now." I didn't say his name, didn't need to. Everyone knew who the temporary manager was. The crowd was dead silent for a moment, then a wave of confused murmurs, even a few boos, started to spread. Liam spluttered something behind me, but I ignored him. I calmly unplugged my headphones, gathered my small bag, and stepped out of the booth, walking right past him without another word. I walked out of the nightclub, out of the resort, leaving the stunned silence and the sputtering manager behind me. Stepping out into the crisp mountain air, the noise of the club fading behind me, a strange mix of emotions washed over me. Anger at the unfairness, disappointment at how it ended, but also a weird sense of liberation. It was over. The job I had loved for a year, finished by the whim of an idiot. As I walked towards my accommodation, the reality of the situation started to sink in. I was due to go home soon anyway, but under the company's rules, if you quit before your contract was up, or even just left at the end of it, you had to pay for your own flight back home. Flights from Colorado to Manchester, especially during the holidays, were eye-wateringly expensive. I'd been saving up for it, dreading the cost. But if you were fired, the company had to pay for your flight. And because it was the absolute peak of the holiday season, getting a flight on short notice was practically impossible. I contacted the company headquarters the next day, told them what had happened, keeping it professional and stating only the facts, that I was instructed to lock the door and let no one in, and was subsequently fired for not immediately opening it when the same person who gave the instruction wanted entry. They had to arrange my travel home. Just as I suspected, they couldn't get me a flight for almost a week due to the holiday rush. So for the next 7 days, I got to stay at the expensive ski resort, with my accommodation and food covered by the company and absolutely nothing to do. No work, no annoying manager, just me, the mountains, and a week of unexpected holiday on someone else's dime. I spent my days skiing, reading by the fire, enjoying the resort facilities that I'd been too busy to use while working. Every time I saw Liam looking stressed and busy, dealing with the fallout of finding a replacement DJ last minute, I felt a quiet little spark of satisfaction. He wanted to get rid of me, wanted to assert his power, and in doing so, he'd not only made a scene in front of the entire club, but he'd also cost the company money by having to fly me home and cover my expenses for a week, while I got to enjoy a free holiday. It wasn't the kind of dramatic revenge you see in films, but it was mine. A quiet victory won simply by sticking to the rules, even when the person who made them couldn't. I left that resort feeling lighter, the bitter taste of being fired replaced by the sweet irony of the free trip home. Justice, sometimes, comes in unexpected forms, like a complimentary upgrade to a week-long, all-expenses-paid holiday courtesy of the person who tried to ruin your day.